Hello, happy Sunday. YouTube says we are live. So I'm so glad you are joining me. I do see a few of you here with me this morning. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna check and make sure. Let me know by posting in the chat that you're here. Let me know that you can hear me, that you can see me. Yeah, so we can make sure that everything is all good. Oops. Let's see. If I can hear me, then you can hear me, right? So today we're going to be talking about Velcro Dogs, but so if you don't know what a Velcro dog is, it is a clingy dog, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. But I first want to tell you that I have some really exciting announcements that we are going to talk about at the end as soon as we're done talking about Velcro Dogs. I have some really exciting announcements that you are not going to want to miss, so make sure to stick around for that. So let me make sure I can hear me. Yes. Okay, so I think we're all good here. You can hear me. Wonderful. So JR is posting, did you change your channel name? I did, and that's one of the things we are going to be talking about closer to the end of the video. I do want to talk about today's topic, and then we will talk about all of the wonderful announcements that I have at the end of the video. I do think I still hear a little bit of an echo, so I want to apologize in advance. Jennifer is here. Scout and I just got back from a long walk. It's cooler here in Indiana. That is wonderful. I'm so glad. It is very hot here in Texas. So we haven't been walking Kim as much as I would like to, but if it's too hot for her to be walking, then obviously we're not going to do that. So the house is much bigger, so she's getting a lot more exercise just walking around the house, which is great, but we still want to provide her with the enrichment of being able to go outside. So we have to, on the days where it does cool down in the evenings, we take her out then. So I'm so glad you're here, Jennifer, you and Scout. And I hope your crate training is going well. I know you posted on Patreon. So if you guys, Jennifer, you are a patron. So you got all of this information before our live today, which is wonderful. JR is asking Jennifer what type of dog Scout is. And if I remember correctly, I think he's like a lab mix. If I could be wrong about that, Jennifer, but in my mind, that's what he looks like. So let JR know, if you don't mind, Jennifer, what type of dog Scout is. So let's talk a little bit about why I chose this topic. Oh, actually, really quickly, I was saying that, yes, it is, Jennifer says. So JR, a Scout is a lab mix. Yeah, I still hear a little bit of an echo. I really have not gotten my office, I haven't gotten any more done in my office as far as like decorating. I've been looking for rugs, which will help the echo a lot. I just haven't found one that I really love yet. And I also, on this wall behind me, where I have this bench, oh, Jennifer. Okay, Jennifer says that Scout is 100% English lab, so he's not a mix. He's a white English lab, which, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm seeing in my head. I wasn't sure that he was, purebred. That's what I was thinking of, purebred. I wasn't sure that he was, so that's awesome. And I'm so glad that the heat has broken for you guys there in Indiana, because especially with a dog like Scout, like he needs his walks, right? He needs to get some of that energy out. It's YouTube. It happened to Larry Kroll live last night. Well, so we have some pretty tall ceilings, and because we just moved into the house, we don't have all of the decor in yet, and we don't have any carpet. There's no carpet in this house, so that is keeping that echo going as well. So in the old house was mostly carpeted. All the bedrooms, my office, my husband's office were carpeted. So that really absorbed a lot of the sound. But in this house, the ceilings are really high and there's no carpet. So I need to get a rug. I'm still looking. And all of these things are going to help. with the echo. So thank you for sticking in there with me. I know it's not the prettiest sounding, but we'll get there, I promise. Little by little every week, I think we're gonna get there. And then I do want bookcases along the back wall for my books and for decor. And I have been looking for those as well, and I'm not finding what I'm wanting. So my husband and I both think he wants some bookcases in his office too. So we might have to get them built. I'm not really sure. So yeah, that's what's going on there. That's why there's really nothing up on the wall yet, because I have some things that I know I want to put on the wall here, or either on the wall or as decor pieces in the bookcase. But I don't want to put anything on the wall yet until I find the pieces that I want. That way I'm not putting something on the wall and then having to move it if I find a piece of furniture I really like to come in here and it doesn't, fit right with what I've already put on the wall. So that's that. But let's get into Velcro Dogs, and I will talk to you at the end about the name change on the YouTube channel, as well as some other really cool and exciting things. So I seem to have a knack for finding Velcro dogs, and a Velcro dog is just a fun, a cute little catchy phrase or term for a clingy dog. So I always had cats. We had dogs growing up, but they weren't my dogs. Like my mom had dogs, and then my brother had a dog at my dad's house for a while. And my stepmom had a dog for a long time. Her dog lived, I think she was like 22 or something. She lived for a very long time. But I always had cats until I met my husband. He had a dog, and I decided I wanted to have my own dog. Claire was the first dog I ever adopted on my own, and at first she wasn't terribly clingy, but that was because she felt so bad. So let's see, Green Eye says, just dealing with my 6-month-old golden retriever puppy who is crying. Yes, trying to get out of gated living area as I'm in the bedroom for a few minutes before our playtime outside. He just stopped crying, biting on the metal gate. So yes, Green Eyes, I don't know your real name, but that's your YouTube name, so we'll go with that. At 6 months old, these are still pretty developmental ages, and your dog really, right now we need to help them learn how to self-soothe. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but Velcro dog, that's not to say that you necessarily have a Velcro dog, but that you may. But dogs are pack animals. They want to be with you because you are family, right? So they want to be with you, and it's safer. If you think about it, it's safer for the two of you to be together. So that's kind of where your dog is at in their thinking. In a pack, if you stray away from the pack, you are much more likely, like you're an easy target, right? If you're with the pack, it's going to be much harder for a predator to come at you because you're in a group of animals that predator really has to think about. There's a lot of risk here, but if you're off on your own, you're a much easier target, right? So that's something to think about when we think about our dogs and how they think. But it is going to be, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, important to help our dogs learn how to self-soothe and how to be more confident and more independent. But basically, both of the dogs I've adopted have wound up being Velcro dogs, and for the most part, that's okay with me. By me. Claire did not feel well at all when we first adopted her, and I actually didn't realize that at first. When I took her to the vet a few days later after we adopted her, it was just like, whoa. She had so many health issues going on. She had teeth rotting out of her mouth and a mammary gland tumor, and she just was not feeling well. So we got all of that taken care of. We scheduled her for surgery. She had a dental cleaning, and a bunch of more teeth fell out during the cleaning than they actually had to remove. So it was bad. Like, her mouth was really bad off. Her mammary tumor was removed, and she just, got everything done. She was feeling so much better. Of course, after a surgery like that and after a dental like that, there's a time, a period of time that you're recovering. And after that, she felt amazing again. And she was by my side all the time. Like, my husband used to joke that if you were ever looking for Claire, just look behind Jessica. Because, Claire was always with me. And fortunately, because at the time I really didn't know much about dogs, I don't feel like she ever developed separation anxiety. But that is really the main reason why we want to assess having a clingy dog and work with our dog to help build confidence and independence, is because we don't want that clinginess to progress into separation anxiety. Now, Kim, who is the second dog I personally have adopted, the third dog in our home, she didn't really attach to me right away. She attached to my husband first, and I was honestly a little upset about that. But that was because we still had Gracie, who was my husband's dog when we met. And Kim is not a dog. She doesn't love other dogs. She doesn't love being around other dogs. She doesn't want to share the love and affection. She doesn't really like other dogs being around. And that's okay. That's her personality. That's what she prefers. But over time, she became closer to me and more bonded to me, which is nice. And but she did have separation anxiety. She had separation anxiety when we adopted her. And I know that we were at least her third home that I know of. And that's really sad. And that's possibly why, at least one of the reasons why she, had such a lack of confidence, because that's really at the core of separation anxiety. So she had separation anxiety already when we adopted her, and it was very apparent within the first few weeks of her coming to live with us. So of course that Velcro dog, clingy dog, is a part of that. Green Eye says he could see me while doing this. He also was returned to breeder after a week with the oh, that's so sad. Thank you so much for advice. Yeah, so he was already returned once. So yeah, I feel for dogs that have gone through that, because it's really like somebody saying, I love you, no I don't love you, bye, I don't want anything to do with you, I don't ever want to see you again. And except it's not even just that, it's you live here and now this isn't your home anymore. No, I don't want you anymore, this isn't your home. That's hard. That's just hard. So anyway, and of course we don't know why he was returned. It could have been that, the family fell on hard times and knew that the dog would be better off within it. It could have been for very unselfish reasons. So I don't want to say that anything bad about whoever returned the dog, especially since it led the dog to you, right? So that's wonderful. Now you and your new dog, your new puppy, can spend a wonderful lifetime together. So yeah, there are lots of reasons, lots of things that can lead to clinginess, and clinginess is can be a learned behavior, because a learned behavior is a behavior that develops based on experiences. So like you were just saying, Green Eyes, the dog was returned once already. And so those are experiences that the dog has been through. So in your dog's mouth, if we think about what our dog may be thinking about is like, oh my goodness, I have a person again. I don't ever want to lose this person again. Let me stay right with them all the time. That could be part of it. But it's also, again, very natural for a dog to be with their family and to not be separated, because they are much more it's much more dangerous for them if they're separated from their family, if they're separated from their pack. They had 3 small kids and couldn't handle it. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, puppies are a lot of work, and a lot of people don't realize that. So that's very unfortunate. But he's with you now, so yay. Yeah, so learned behaviors, and it was really interesting how much we put on our dogs, especially young puppies, that we really shouldn't, because they are learning. Like, with everything we do, with everything they do, they are learning, and in ways that you don't even think about oftentimes, because any action you take, any behavior you have, is going to help shape a response in your dog. So one of the things that I was talking about in the Patreon post this morning, again, if you're not part of the Patreon family, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's the first link in the description. But we can inadvertently cause clinginess in our dog as well by rewarding that behavior, where they are constantly following us, they are constantly under our feet. If we reward that in any way by talking to them, by praising them, by petting them, by giving them a treat, that's behavior they're going to continue to do because they were rewarded for it. So that's what we talk about when we talk about a learned behavior. So clinginess can be a learned behavior. It could also be just something, it could be something like in Green Eye's case, where this puppy was already homed and returned once, and that is a very damaging blow to a puppy, because they were part of a family and then they weren't. And for animals, which, we're animals too, but animals, when they are removed from their family unit, first of all, that puppy was removed from its real family, the mother and other siblings, from its litter. That's one family it was removed from already, and hopefully not too early, because the earlier we remove a puppy from their mother and their litter mates, the less they learn from their mother and litter mates. Like, ideally, a puppy will stay with its mother and litter mates until at least 12 weeks old. But anyway, so it was already removed from that family and then adopted into another family and then returned, and now the puppy is with you. So the puppy has, at 6 months of age, already been through a lot of rejection. So empathy is really something we need to have for animals and for dogs, especially in this type of situation. But also remember to reward the behavior you want to see. So, okay, so we talked about what a Velcro dog is, a clingy dog, right? And what a learned behavior is. But it's not always, like I was saying, it's not always just because of a learned behavior. There are other reasons. Boredom can be a reason for clinginess. So, and anxiety is another reason for clinginess. Not having enough exercise, which again, is can be considered boredom. Changes in routine can cause clinginess, which again, this particular dog that Green Eyes is talking about has just adopted, has already been through a ton of changes in a very short period, right? Only 6 months old. Changes in routine can lead to clinginess, and that's actually one of the reasons that I decided to do this topic this morning and talk about this particular topic, is because we just recently moved, as you may or may not know. If you've been following, And while we have worked a lot with Kim on her separation anxiety, and she does so much better than she used to, because we moved, that was a huge change. We spent 3 days driving, 2 nights in two different hotels, and then we come to a new home, right? And everything has changed for her. So her clinginess was definitely in full force for a while. She is doing so much better. But that was actually one of the reasons, one of the things that was going on in our life that brought this topic up and made me want to talk about it. Tony is saying Velcro would be less clingy to me. That's funny. So changes in routine, boredom, anxiety, all of these things can also lead to clinginess. Now, the reason that it's important that we address a clingy dog or a Velcro dog, because really, I mean, I don't mind it so much, right? I actually miss it a little bit when Kim is not all that clingy with me, but I know it's healthy for her, so I don't force it. Like, I don't force her to, cling to my side. But, it's really comforting for us when our dog does that, but we do need to kind of temper that, because when we continue to reinforce that clingy behavior, it can lead to separation anxiety. And that's something we don't want to happen. That's why it's important that we really assess our dog and make sure that while we love the attention, right, we love that they want to be with us, and we love that comfort and companionship, especially when, we get on the couch at night and our dog cuddles right up next to us. That's wonderful. I love that. But we also want to make sure that our dog is confident and independent and can self-soothe on their own when we're not around. And there are some things we can do to help our dog become more confident and more independent and reduce the risk that your clingy dog will develop separation anxiety. And actually, this is something that is incredibly important right now, because I am seeing so many posts on social media about, people went out and adopted a ton of dogs at the beginning of the lockdowns, right? And now that people are going back to work, they are just dropping their dogs off at shelters. Are trying to rehome them. They don't have time for them anymore. And it's really, really unfortunate. And these dogs are really paying the price. But even for people that are keeping their dogs, which is the most responsible thing to do, they are not necessarily transitioning their dog appropriately into, I'm home with you 24/7 to now I'm gone 8 to 10 hours a day. That's a huge change for a dog, and we definitely want to address that prior to having to go back into an office, right? If that's what you're doing. So, helping our dogs, even though we do like a little bit of clinginess, we like the idea that our dog wants to be with us, and we want that comfort and companionship from our dog. We want to make sure at the same time they're confident and independent. Oh, Jennifer says, yes, so sad. Our county shelter is full. I know, I'm seeing so many posts on social media from people who work at shelters across the country, and the shelters are full again. It's so sad. It breaks my heart, honestly. And if Kim liked other dogs, we would probably have another dog right now, but she doesn't. And, we have to respect that. We are giving Kim a safe and comfortable environment for her. We are responsible for her, and it's her preference that she doesn't want to be around another dog. So I have to honor her, and so anyway, yes. JR says, it seems rescue dogs know that you saved them. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like I was talking about earlier with Claire. It's amazing. that they really do. But so building confidence and helping your dog learn independence, which I also have talked about, that self-soothing. So what's really interesting is that young puppies, just like young children, like human children, physiologically are not capable of self-soothing. This is something that is learned over time. So older dogs can self-soothe. Generally, young puppies are not going to be able to self-soothe. So it's something that we have to help our dog to learn. And even an older dog may have not learned it appropriately when they were young. There could be a lot of trauma going on during their developmental stage. So even with older dogs, we can see that we need to help them learn how to be independent, how to be confident, and self-soothe. So the very first thing that we can do to help our dogs with confidence and independence is just training with them, positive reinforcement training. Now, training that doesn't mean that you have to be, become a professional dog trainer. It doesn't mean that you even need to train super elaborate tricks. Just doing the simple things with them, sit, come, stay, maybe give me your paw if you want to do that one. There are really simple, look at me. I love the look at me. Simple things that we can do and continue to reinforce over the lifetime of our dog that will help our dog build confidence, because when we ask them to do something and they have to think through it and then they get it right and they get rewarded for it, that's confidence building. If you think about you going through school and you're taking a test and you're like, okay, I really have to think about this. Is this the right answer? And you give the teacher the answer and it's the right answer and you get a good grade or you get a sticker or whatever. That's confidence building, right? You're learning that you have the ability to get it right. And that's what we're doing for our dog. So even if we don't want to train crazy tricks, which is totally fine, we don't need to do that. Training simple things with our dogs and consistently rewarding that and over time throughout their life is going to help continue to build the confidence and instill that confidence in our dog. So positive reinforcement training is the number one thing that literally right now, as soon as we're done with this live video, you can do with your dog right now. And it's going to help start building confidence in your dog. The next thing is enrichment. Now, enrichment is a very broad term that encompasses a lot of stuff, and really the sky is the limit. It's really like your own creativity is the only limit to enrichment for your dog. So I really love, one really simple thing that you can do is to take a towel or a hand towel and roll it up, but as you're rolling it up, put little pieces of food or treat in it. And once you're done rolling it up, present it to your dog. And when you first do this, you might have to slightly move that roll to where they understand that what they have to do is use their nose. They can smell that there's food or treat in there and unroll that towel or hand towel to get to the food or treats. Again, what's happening is that your dog is having to figure out how to get to the food that they can smell. And you can do this with so many things. You can take, recycle cardboard that's in you would normally recycle, or paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls, and hide food and treats in there. And let your dog find it, because the act of your dog having to use their brain and their nose to figure out where that food is and find it, that finding the food is the reward. And that is really going to help build confidence in your dog as well. It's the same idea. What we're doing is setting our dog up for success, because when your dog can figure things out and then they're rewarded for figuring it out and getting it right, that's confidence building. And so let's see, Jennifer says having the dog think through and having them look at you also works the brain and calms them. Absolutely. We ask him to look at us a lot when we are training. especially right now because we just moved into a new home. We've been very big about thresholds, the front door especially, because the backyard is fenced in, but the front door, there's no fence. She could just bolt out. So that front door, she sits and she has to look at us, and then we have to release her before she's allowed to walk through the front door. That has been a really big thing for us. Over the past few weeks, we have been working, it's something that I had worked with her on in the past, so she already knew it, but because we're in a new environment, dogs are very situational, right? We've talked about this before, dogs are very situational. We're in a new environment, so she needs to relearn it. And she picked, she's so smart, she picked it up really quickly, but, it's something we're still, the behaviors we want to see in our dog, we need to reinforce over time throughout their life. That's just how it works with everybody, with dogs, with cats, with people. That's how it works. Tony, Green Eye says, cool idea. Yes, Tony Zamora, I made a snuffle mat and my guy loves it. Yes, I'm so glad you did. Kim loves her snuffle mat, and I actually haven't used it yet in the new house. I have a video, if you guys are not familiar with the snuffle mat. It's like fleece fabric and a sink mat, basically, that you tie strips of fleece fabric to, and you hide food and treats in it. Your dog has to find it to get the treat or the food. And there's the video on this channel, actually 2, I think, where I made snuffle mats showing you how to make them. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. You can search my channel for snuffle mat. Tony says he's got an underbite and doesn't chew his food. He gobbles, then this slows him down, yes, and works his brain. That's wonderful. Jennifer, we started that with Scout as a puppy. Yes. Yeah, we did with Kim too, but of course being in the new environment, we had to really reinforce it quite a bit. Green Eyes, I live close to the ocean and bays. I took a puppy to a swim therapy pool for a one-time deep water swim lesson, so he'd be more confident when in or near the water. That's wonderful. And actually one of the things similar to the next thing I was going to bring up, which is if you and your dog are so inclined, because every dog is different and every dog is going to like different things, you can work with your dog on scent work. That is something that you could actually do at home with your dog. But then there are other things you can do with your dog outside of the home, like dock diving or agility. There are tons of canine sports out there. These are also going to be really super confidence builders for your dogs. Again, it's not for everybody, it's not for every dog, but some dogs will really love it, and for some people, they really love it too. So those are other things that we can do with our dogs to help build confidence and independence. One other thing that I do want to talk about is giving your dog space. Now, crates, I have a love-hate relationship with crates, as you guys well know. I love them. They are a necessity in my opinion, especially for emergency situations, but I think the majority of people do not crate train appropriately. Tossing your dog in the crate and shutting the door and walking away is not crate training. So there is an appropriate way to crate train, and I think that when we do it appropriately, it is wonderful. But I also think that there are other ways to provide safe spaces for your dog. And in fact, I had a dog that I worked with, I guess it's been a couple of years ago. I have I don't know about you guys, my perception of time over the past year and a half has just gone out the window. But she had some pretty bad food aggression. So finding the safe space for her in her house was a very small house with a fairly large family. Finding her safe space was a little difficult, but we managed, and it was actually in the back of a closet. And it is what it is. We have to do what we have to do to provide our dogs with their own safe space. That is going to be key. And we want to reward our dog for being calm in that safe space. We want to provide meals for them so they start having positive associations in that safe space. We can encourage solo activities like maybe a frozen Kong or just playing with their toys if they like toys. Some dogs do, some dogs don't, in their safe space. So encouraging solo activities is a great thing in their safe space. That is the next thing that I wanted to talk about. JR says, we need to take our dog for a swim. She's never done that before. Yeah, Kim doesn't really love the water. So I'm not sure how she would do with a dog, like a little doggy swimming pool, but we could try it for sure. So guys, I hope that helps you out a little bit on figuring out what a Velcro dog is, why we need to address it so that it doesn't turn into separation anxiety, and some tips on helping your dog build confidence and independence, which is the best thing we can do for those clingy dogs. So let's talk a little bit about some of the big announcements that I was telling you about at the beginning. So the very first thing I want to say is that, as Jennifer well knows, you guys have seen her post in the chat, Patreon is an excellent way to get the content that you sign up for. I know it's a very novel idea in the current social media space, but to actually get the content that you sign up for. And what's really cool about Patreon is that there are different tiers. So you can sign up for the tier that works best for you. And one thing that you will always be guaranteed of is that you are going to get new and exclusive content on Patreon that I do not post anywhere else, as well as first dibs on any information that I put up on YouTube. So that is always your guarantee with Patreon, and I highly recommend that you check it out. You can find me just by searching Patreon for Jessica L. Fisher, or you can use the link that's the first link in the description of this video. I also have my link tree, which is the second link in the description of this video. You can find Patreon on my link tree as well. So that is the first thing that I wanted to say. Green Eyes says, frozen Kongs with cream cheese and a little fruit or treat is a lifesaver, yes, when I have to leave the house for a few hours. Also, I put YouTube dog relaxation music channel on TV for him. Both of those are an absolute yes in my book. I love that. Yeah, so that's wonderful. All the right things. So thank you for sharing that, Green Eyes. I definitely appreciate it. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. JR already brought it up. The name of my YouTube channel has changed, and I am having a new logo designed. Hopefully I will have that done this week. The logo is supposed to be done this week, but hopefully I like it enough that I don't have to send it and ask for too many revisions. Tony says, relax my dog music. He loves it. Yes, absolutely. I love it too. And there's, for my cats, I really love like nature sounds, but yeah, the relaxation music for the dog is wonderful. So the name of my YouTube channel has changed, and it is now the Pet Parenting Reset with Jessica L. Fisher. So I left my name in there, so you can still find me by my name. But what is really, really cool is that I'm starting a podcast, and it is called the Pet Parenting Reset. So I have to get the logo done and all of that first, but the format for YouTube is going to change a little bit because when I go live on Sundays, which it will probably stay, I don't know, I'm gonna have to look. If you guys have any recommendations for days and times that you would love to see me go live on YouTube, let me know by posting in the comments. You can also reach out to me on Patreon if you are a patron. Yeah, so when I go live on YouTube, that is it's because I'm recording my podcast. So basically, I'm going to be recording my podcast, which is an audio file, right? and the video will be available on YouTube. So that's kind of how the content is going to go. Tony says Native American flute music too. Yes. Oh yes, I've heard wonderful things about Native American music, and especially just individual instruments like the flute. Yes, definitely. I've heard really good things about it. Jennifer says this will be the last live. I work till 12 p.m. our time, but this week I am on vacation. Well, okay. Do you work till 12 every day of the week, or is it just on Sundays? Let me know, because, you know, I want to make sure you're good. Of course, you get the content on Patreon before, because you're a patron, you get it before it goes live on YouTube, so that's a really great thing. But let me know a little bit more about your schedule, and I hope your vacation has gone exactly the way you hoped it would. Yeah, okay, wonderful. So, yes, so the podcast is going to be called The Pet Parenting Reset, and the reason that we chose the Pet Parenting Reset is because we talk about so many more things. Like, it's not just about positive reinforcement dog training, right? It's about holistic care, and it's about feeding nutritious foods to your dogs. Yeah, so there's so much that encompasses, like, what we talk about is so much more than just dog training. It's really all about pet parenting, and I really wanted the title, or, you know, the name to stand out, and my husband came up with the Pet Parenting Reset, because it's like what we know, or what we think we know, what the marketing companies are telling us, what we see on, you know, TVs and print ads and billboards, or wherever you're getting your media, I personally believe is not the greatest information. In fact, I think it's pretty bad information. So we really need to reset our brains and start thinking differently, and that's where the reset comes in. So, oh, Green Ice says great name for your, thank you so much. My husband came up with it. I cannot take the credit for it. But I love it, because that is exactly what we're doing. We have to switch our brains. We have to think differently. Yeah. And I think it's a good time, because we're, as a society, at least in the US, we're realizing that we need to think for ourselves a little bit more. Like, we have gotten entirely too complacent, and a lot of people are realizing that we have to think for ourselves again, right? And that's where we are, and that's where the reset comes in. So I love it. I'm glad you guys love it too. Over the course of hopefully this next week, I'm going to be changing the names of different things, my Facebook page, and yeah. So the other thing is, if you are not already in the Facebook group, the name of that group is going to change this week as well, but the link is going to remain the same. So check out the link. It is in my link tree, which is I think it's the second link in the description of the video. But I still highly recommend that you check out Patreon. Also, and I almost forgot this, can't believe I almost forgot this, if you are not part of the texting community, you need to join the family, because I don't send a ton of text messages, but about 15 minutes before I go live, you're going to get a text message that says, hey, I'm going live in 15 minutes. So if you forgot about that email I sent you or that post you saw on social media, then you'll get a text saying, hey, I'm going live in 15 minutes. Here's the link. And you can be like, oh, yeah, I didn't want to miss that, and just click the link. So if you go to trainpositivedogs.com/text, TEXT, YouTube will not let me put a link in the chat, so otherwise I would post it there. But you can also get to it through my link tree. So if you go to the description and go to the second link in the description, which is my link tree, you can get scroll down to see where you can join the texting family. Definitely recommend you do that. I don't send a ton of text messages. I'm not going to be blowing up your phone, but if there's something really important going on, like I'm having my once a year sale on my recall course, which will be happening in the next few months, definitely want to get on my list for that one, because it's the best deal all year long, and it only happens once a year. But I also, again, like I said, if I'm going to go live, you're going to get a 15-minute notification so that you can be there. Because if you're not here live, which I understand life happens, but if you're not here live, then I can't answer your questions live. You can still submit questions to me. Absolutely. We can still have a conversation, especially if you're on Patreon. Patreon is the best way to have a conversation with me. So definitely check that out. But, so those are the things. Those are all the things. Things are changing, but they're really great changes. And I'm so glad you guys were here with me this morning, especially all of the chat. You guys rocked the chat. Thank you so much. These things go so much smoother, so much better when you guys post in the chat and we can have conversations. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned a lot. I'm so glad you guys liked the new name of the channel. Yay! Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are not already subscribed to this channel, then you'll see a red subscribe button down there. You need to click it and turn it gray. Once it turns gray, a bell will appear. Click the bell, select all notifications, and YouTube will notify you that I'm going live. But if you're not on YouTube, I don't know, you also have to have your notifications turned on for your like whatever browser you use. So another reason to join my texting community, join the family. So Green Eye says, my dog and I also love the Native American music. It's on our favorite YouTube relaxation channel. That's wonderful. I love it. Isla, she's a Dr. Isla Fishburne. Amazing. She does I'm gonna say it sounds right in my head. Shamanic ceremonies for canine, well, for all animals, but she, specializes in canines. She's amazing, and she's actually where I've learned a lot about the Native American music and stuff. She's wonderful. Jennifer, yes. Tony, as always, thank you, Jessica. Great input. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate Green Eyes. I appreciate you being here. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful vacation. JR, thank you so much for being here. Also, guys, I almost forgot. My husband, JR, he has a YouTube channel as well. Definitely want to check that out. If you are at all even considering starting, or if you already have, an online business, definitely want to check him out. JR Fisher Training is what you can search on YouTube to find his channel. He has like 1,000 videos over there or something like that, something crazy like that. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. We went a little long, but I appreciate each and every one of you. And I appreciate all of the wonderful feedback on the new channel name. So hopefully next Sunday will be our first podcast episode on YouTube. So if we need to change the time, I'll let you know ahead of time if we're going to change the times. But thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys in our next video, and hopefully on Patreon as well. Bye. Have a great rest of your day.